On the news tonight, Senate confirms Justice Ariwola as substantive GJN. National Assembly expresses worry over long-term borrowings. Ethiopia's Tigray region accuses Eritrea of launching full-scale offensive. Good evening and welcome to the major reports. I am Kayode Adebayo. The Senate has confirmed the nomination of Justice Olukayode Ariwola for appointment as the Chief Justice of Nigeria, CJN. The confirmation followed the screening of Justice Ariwola by the Committee of the Whole inside the Senate chambers. During the screening, Justice Ariwola responded to questions posed to him by senators. Senators who asked questions included the Deputy President of the Senate, Senator Obioma Agigi, Chairman, Senate Committee on Judiciary and Legal Matters, Senator Opeyemi Bamidele, Minority Leader of the Senate, Senator Philip Aduda, and Senator Gabriel Suswan and Senator Bala Ibn Nahala. During the exercise, the senators requested that the acting CJN be asked to take a bow and go Union of Universities to call off its ongoing nationwide strike. ASU has been on strike since February 14 to press home the demands for improved funding for universities, a review of salaries for lecturers, among other issues. Several meetings between ASU and the federal government had ended in a deadlock. Consequently, the federal government went to court to challenge the strike, while its counsel, James Igwe, prayed the court for an interlocutory injunction restraining ASU from taking further steps as regards the strike, pending the determination of the substantive suit. The Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, said members of the Parliament are concerned about the long-term impact of the burden that endless borrowings by the federal government and growing debt profile will place on Nigerians. Gbajabiamila, who said the President Muhammadu Buhari was expected to lay the 2023 appropriation bill before the National Assembly early October, described the huge deficit in the proposed budget of the federal government. The federal government is proposing a budget with estimate totaling 19.76 trillion naira, while the deficit will hover between 11.30 trillion naira and 12.41 trillion naira, depending on the duration that the premium motor spirit subsidy regime will be extended in the 2023 fiscal year. The Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, had on August 29, 2022, in a presentation to the House Committee on Finance at the hearing on the proposed 2023-2025 medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper, decried that the government might be unable to provide for treasury-funded capital projects next year, especially due to dwindling revenue and petrol subsidy. Gbajabiamila, in his remark at the opening of the plenary after the National Assembly returned from its 2-month annual break, expressed concern over the revelation from the proposal. The controversy trailing the proposed removal of fuel subsidy from the 2023 budget by the federal government has continued to generate reactions among Nigerians, while some express conviction that it is a necessary evil that will greatly benefit the masses on the long run, while others believe it will further compound the hardship already being experienced by Nigerians. Oluwatobiloba Odunuga has the details.
The issue of subsidy removal has been generating heated controversies among Nigerians, most especially now that the price of premium motor spirit, popularly known as petrol, has remained unstable for quite some time. The federal government has linked the inconsistency in the prices of petrol to the subsidy regime. The Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, had before the House of Representatives maintained that the new plan, which is contained in the 2023 to 2025 medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper, the subsidy removal will be implemented by the first half of 2023. The Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, who noted that if the federal government is not ending the subsidy regime, it will have to borrow more than 6 trillion naira to offset the budget deficit that will result from it. Reacting to this development, a public affairs analyst, Mr. Kola Bangbola, stated that subsidy removal is a necessary evil that will benefit the masses on the long run. According to him, what Nigerians need at this trying moment in our history is to ensure they elect leaders that will adequately manage the country's resources for the overall benefit of the people. He, however, enjoined the federal government to put in place watertight policies that will help cushion the effect of the removal.
In this coming dispensation, according to the program of this particular government, you are telling us by next year, Dangote refinery will begin to operate to its full capacity. And they said as well, they are working on other refineries. So if we are not importing again, the cost of taking crude abroad and the cost of taking it back, I think the money will be in our economy. The capital price will no longer be there.
Speaking to the contrary, however, another analyst, Dr. Rotimi Fagbili, maintained that subsidy removal on the fuel will cause a lot of havoc to Nigerians.
It's going to be very, very terrible on the citizens of Nigeria because fuel is applicable to everybody. Fuel is what drives the economy.
He noted that removing the subsidy while there is no refinery means that Nigerian people who are largely living beyond the poverty line will have to buy petroleum products at unaffordable rates.
US dollars is to Naira. And you are now bringing another problem to compound the already problems in Nigeria. I don't think it will speak well for Nigerians who it will not speak well at all.
Dr. Fagbili and Mr. Bambola, who raised concern on the timeline of the subsidy removal, noted that Nigerian businesses rely on the power generators to function due to country's electric power supply, adding that there is need for the government to revitalize the nation's refineries in order to revamp the nation's economy. Oluwa Tobiloba Odunuga reporting for OSBC News.
The Independent National Electoral Commission has released the final list of candidates for national elections, namely presidential, senatorial, and federal constituencies, in line with the 2023 election timetable earlier released in the year. INEC, which confirmed this in a statement by the National Commissioner in charge of voter education, Festus Okoye, also posted the list on the website. The list contained 36 presidential candidates and the running mates of 18 political parties. Also, a total of 4,223 candidates will battle for 469 legislative positions at the federal level. The commissioner, however, said the final list of candidates for state elections will be published on October 4 this year, as indicated in the timetable and schedule of activities for the 2023 general elections. Okoye also noted that the commission also received litigation during the period of compiling the final list. Speaking further on the statement, Okoye noted that the list that was published by the commission contained the names of individuals who were validly nominated by their parties. The ruling All Progressives Congress has no candidate for Yobe North Senatorial District, placing a lead on Senate President Ahmad Lawan's ambition to return to the Red Chamber next year. The Independent National Electoral Commission, which released the final list of candidates for presidential and National Assembly elections, however, published the names of former Minister of Niger Delta Affairs Godswill Akpabio for Akwa Ibom Northwest Senatorial District and Ebonyi State Governor Dave Umahi for the Ebonyi South Senatorial seat. The trio of Lawal, Umahi, and Akpabio had chosen to pick Senate tickets for Yobe North, Ebonyi South, and Akwa Ibom Northwest Senatorial Districts, respectively, after losing out at the APC presidential primary. The move had sparked controversy since most Senate primaries had been conducted before the presidential primaries. While its earlier publication, INEC refused to publish the name of any candidate for the party in the affected senatorial districts. For Lawan, he has been battling his party man Bashir Mashina over who will represent the senatorial district in the next election. In the final list published by INEC, no name was listed for the APCs as a candidate to contest the Yobe North Senatorial District. But a statement by INEC National Commissioner and Chairman Information and Voter Education Committee, Festus Okoye, following the release of the final list, said the Commission decided to recognize both Umahi and Akpabio as candidates for their respective senatorial districts based on court orders. The Edo State Governor, Godwin Obaseki, has called on political leaders across the country to step up and assuage the pains of Nigerians on many fronts due to poor governance and inefficiency. or expect a surprise from the electorate in the forthcoming general elections. Obaseki noted that Nigerians are fed up with the inefficiencies and failures of government officials and other representatives and will reject the same if nothing is done to change the narrative. He said the people are closely watching the political situation in the country and are ready to shock political parties with their new political orientation. According to the governor, people are now beginning to realize that they need to demand more from people in government and those managing their resources and commonwealth, noting that people will go out to vote their choice or interests. He maintained that no political party can beat its chest and say they will win or have a clear victory in the next election in the country. Death penalty is authorized by Section 33 of 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Reports, however, indicate that over 3,000 inmates have been on death row in the past 10 years without the ratification of their death warrant by the state governors. Our report of the week for today focuses on the implications of the non-execution of prisoners on death row on the society and the implication of such on the society. Oluchi Amuda has the details.
Punishment, also known as death penalty, is a state-sanctioned practice of killing a person as a punishment for a crime. In most countries of the world where capital punishment is being upheld, including Nigeria, crimes that are punishable by death commonly include serious crimes against a person, such as murder, armed robbery, aggravated cases of rape, including child sexual abuse, terrorism, war crimes, crimes against humanity, genocide, treason, drug trafficking, among others. In Nigeria, public execution of notorious criminals at the beach were carried out in the 70s and 80s till the early 90s, but death sentence still remains in the country's constitution and is being carried out where necessary. Reports have, however, shown that Nigeria, which is one of the 18 countries in Africa still retaining death sentence as a punitive measure, now have about 3,145 inmates that are currently on death row in custodial centers across the country. Figures on the website of the Nigerian Correctional Service indicated that as of July this year, there were a total of 74,675 inmates in the country, comprising 52,714 awaiting trial and 21,961 convicted inmates. The report further showed that the total number of male inmates was 73,139, while there were 1,536 female inmates. Some lawyers and human rights activists have consistently expressed concern over the fate of inmates as most state governors refuse to sign the death warrant, leading to the rising number of inmates on death row. A legal practitioner, Mr. Bimbola Ige, explained that the process involved before the death warrant could be signed by any governor is cumbersome as a result of the delay in justice dispensation in Nigeria.
We need to find out whether the rights of appeal of such a conflict have been exhausted. What I mean by exhaustion is, has the matter proceeded to the highest court in the land? So if the exhaustion of the rights of the conflict has not been done, the governor does not have any right to sign into law.
On the other side is the rate at which our courts conduct trials is so slow to the extent that a case that ordinarily shouldn't have taken more than 3 to 5 months will take 6 years or more.
Speaking in the same vein, another legal practitioner, Mr. Kolapo Alimi, said the indefinite detention of inmates on death row in the correctional facilities across the country could not be justified under the law, adding that governors owes it a duty to sign the death warrant for proper execution, particularly on inmates whose cases have been decided by the Supreme Court, the apex court in the land.
We send signal to other criminals that if at all they commit a crime and they are prosecuted and they are convicted, at least for robbery, murder, and so on and so forth, they will still be in the prison enjoying their life. It is a very bad sign.
However, a governor should not rush to sign it. However, after the Supreme Court judgment, it is not good for any governor not to sign it. But it is not a good omen for our legal system.
Stakeholders have continued to raise concern about the consequences of governors' reluctance to sign the death warrant. This has also brought to the fore the renewed call for the abolition of capital punishment in Nigeria, has been embraced in some countries of the world. The supporters of the call for the abolition of death sentence, including Amnesty International, will declare that death penalty breaches human rights, stating that the right to life and right to live free from torture or cruel, inhuman or degrading treatment are protected under the Universal Declaration of Human Rights.
We will continue to urge, government and the Nigerian National Assembly to look into the issue of abolition of death penalty in Nigeria. But it's a very complicated matter because of our legal system, because issue of death penalty is not a federal thing. It is mainly with states, and it has also some religious, implications. There are some people whose religion accepts, the death penalty. So this is an issue that all Nigerians, irrespective of their faith or political party affiliation, should take a hard look at the death penalty.
Mr. Abimbola Ige, who threw his weight behind the call, noted that over the years, the inclusion of death sentence in the Constitution has not reduced crime rates in any way. More so, since the Supreme Court has said keeping an inmate on death row for too long constitutes a torture. Government should set a time limit so that anyone waiting to be executed should be committed to life imprisonment instead of allowing them to go through harrowing experience of expecting to die every day.
If somebody has committed an offense and he has been found guilty of that offense and sentence has been pronounced against that person, the governor and the president still have the right under the law to forgive such a person by way of giving state pardon. If the governor exercises such a power to forgive, you can still not blame the governor for not signing death warrant. There was a time, I think in Ibadan or somewhere in the southwest here, where execution by firing squad in those days was ongoing, and some people were still pickpocketing. Some people have been fired, and some people are still pickpocketing, stealing people's phone, stealing people other materials and all that, and they were caught. The effect of capital punishment has not really helped our matter in this country.
Speaking to the contrary, Mr. Kola Poalemi believed that total abolition of death sentence will encourage many more to go into crimes, adding that it should be retained for serious crimes such as murder, armed robbery, among others.
Capital sentence majorly for deaths, for murder and armed robbery. It says it should be abolished. It means whoever killed will be given lesser punishment. No, that should not be the intent of our law. Whoever killed should be killed. And for robbery, in the process of robbery, killing with your car, maiming with your car, raping with your car, so many things. Actually going along with armed robbery. So I don't see any reason why we should abolish capital punishment for those ones. But for others cases, we might lessen it.
Reports say as of this year, 55 countries have retained capital punishment. 109 countries have completely abolished it for all crimes, while 7 countries have abolished it for ordinary crimes, while maintaining it for special circumstances, such as war crimes. Oluchi Amuda, OSBC News.
Thanks to Oluchi for that report. You are welcome to Sports Segment. The International Governing Body for Sport of Athletes has confirmed the world record set by Nigerian sprinter Oluwatobi Amusan at the 2022 World Championship in Oregon. Omatayo Adebodun has the details of this and more from the world of sports.
The World Athletics has ratified the women's 100-meter hurdle record set by Toby Amusan at the 2022 World Athletics Championship. A statement by the International Athletics Governing Body further revealed that the record time of two other athletes, Mundo Duplantis and Sydney McLaughlin, have also been ratified. The athletes had set the record at the World Athletics Championship that took place in Oregon, the United States, in July. The 25-year-old Amusan took the world by storm when she ran a time of 12.12 seconds, shaving almost a tenth of a second off the previous world record held by American Ken Harrison of 12.20 seconds in the semi-finals of the World Championship in Oregon, USA, before going on to win gold in the final at the Howard Field Stadium. Meanwhile, Serie A leaders Napoli have been handed a major boost after reports emerged that Nigeria international Victor Osimhen would be available for the club's next UEFA Champions League game against Ajax on the 4th of October. The Super Eagles striker sustained an hamstring injury in Napoli's 4-1 battering of Liverpool in their Group A opening game of the Champions League before he was replaced just 4 minutes to the end of the first 45 minutes. The initial report suggested that the 23-year-old would be out for 3 weeks. However, the former Lille forward has missed Napoli's last 3 games before the international break and automatically has been ruled out of Nigeria's international friendly against Algeria. So far this season, Osimhen has scored 2 goals and assisted another one from 5 games in the Serie A. In the meantime, Britain's Emma Raducanu overcame a late wobble to beat Japan's Moyoka Uchijima in the first round of the Korea Open in Seoul. Raducanu, who is 19 years, double-faulted on match point when holding a 5-0 lead in the second set before winning 6-2, 6-4. Victory set up a last 16 match against Belgium Janina Wiksmeyer. Raducanu had been 10th in the world ranking in August but has dropped to 77th after losing in the US Open first round earlier this month. Montayo at Debodun, OSBC News.
Now on the foreign scene, forces in Ethiopia's Tigray region says Eritrea has launched a full-scale offensive as heavy fighting was taking place in several areas along the borders in what appears to be an escalation of the war. Taufikat Abdulhakim has the rest of this and more from our foreign desk.
According to reports, the Eritreans are fighting alongside Ethiopian federal forces, including commando units as well as allied militias. There was no immediate comment from authorities in Ethiopia or Eritrea, which lies north of Tigray. It was learned that there was intense fighting along the border, including shelling into a camp for displaced persons. A humanitarian worker in the northern Ethiopian town of Adigra told newsmen that Eritrean forces were shelling the surrounding areas. The U.S. Special Envoy for the Horn of Africa said the United States was aware of Eritrean troops crossing into Ethiopia-Tigray region. Meanwhile, health authorities in Uganda have declared an outbreak of Ebola disease after a case of the relatively rare Sudan strain was confirmed in Mubenda district, in the central part of the country. The Uganda Virus Research Institute confirmed the case after testing a sample taken from a 24-year-old male. This followed an investigation by the National Rapid Response Team of 6 suspicious deaths. According to the health authorities, there are currently 8 suspected cases that are receiving care in the health facilities. This was as Ghana's Ministry of Health declared the end of the Marburg virus outbreak after no new cases were reported over the past 42 days or 2 incubation periods. In total, 3 confirmed cases, including 2 deaths, were recorded in the outbreak declared on July 7, 2022, after laboratory confirmation of the virus that affected the country's Ashanti, Savannah, and Western regions. The Marburg outbreak in Ghana was the second of its kind in West Africa. However, Russian President Vladimir Putin is calling up thousands of extra troops to fight in Ukraine after suffering setbacks on the battlefield. Mr. Putin said the partial mobilization was necessary to ensure Russian territorial integrity. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said it showed Mr. Putin wanted to drown Ukraine in blood, including that of his own soldiers. The announcement applies to 300,000 military reservists. They make up a fraction of the about 25 million Russian reservists. The mobilization is the first since World War II and comes after Ukraine made gains in a rapid counter-offensive this month, putting the Kremlin on the back foot. Ukrainian forces have recaptured key towns and villages in the northern Kharkiv region and have made a slower but still significant progress in the southern Kherson region. Russia still holds about a fifth of the country. However, Russian officials said it would announce very soon those who would be exempt from its partial mobilization. Taufikat Abdullah Hakim, OSBC News.
And to end the major news on OSBC TV, here again are the high points. The Senate has confirmed Honorable Justice Olukayode Arowola as substantive Chief Justice of Nigeria. The National Assembly has expressed worry over the long-term borrowings by the federal government. And we told you on the foreign scene that Ethiopia's Tigray region has accused Eritrea of launching a full-scale war in what appears to be an escalation of last month's renewal of fighting. And that ends the major report on OSBC TV. It was edited by Michael Adeniyi. I am Kayode Adebayo. Good night.
It's the Afrobeat singing competition, the Nigeria Star Search reality TV show, Season 1. As Africans, we create history. And as Kenny's Music, one of the pioneers of today's music, Afrobeat.
For all the good things you've done for Afrobeat,
I am truly humbled and again excited